So welcome. This is again our nuclear medicine information session. My name is Erin Ruggieri. I'm one of the marketing coordinators at BCIT with Health Sciences. And our presentation this evening is going to be from our two program heads from nuclear medicine, Thomas Wong and Christy Owen. Just a few little housekeeping details first. I do ask that you keep yourself muted during our presentation to avoid any background noise or any issues there. But if you want to have your camera on or off, that's totally your choice. You can choose what you want to do there. If you have any questions as we go along, please type those into the chat box. And Thomas, can you say hi in the chat so everyone sees where that is? So if you want to type any questions in there, or you can hold your questions till the end. We will have a Q&A at the end where you can unmute yourself and ask those questions out loud as well, because we're a fairly small group this evening. But we do thank you for taking the time to get together with us on a probably busy day for everybody. So I just wanted to say that the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. So our agenda this evening is a welcome introduction. That's what I'm doing right now. We're going to watch a short video on nuclear medicine, and then we're going to have a presentation and program overview. And then we're going to have some information about program advising and some information on how to apply to the program and the admissions process. And then, like I said, we're going to end with a question and answer. So I don't know if Christy and Thomas, you want to introduce yourself before we go into the video, or if we should just go straight into the video?
I'm totally fine to go straight into the video, but I will introduce myself. So my name is Christy Owen, and I'm one of the co-program heads for the nuclear medicine diploma program here at BCIT. And my partner in crime there is Thomas Wong. So over to you, Thomas.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. And as Christy said, I'm the other program head. So we both share this role. So yeah, welcome to this info session.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now let's see if we get this video to work on the next slide.
I don't think of it as a job. I don't have to dread going to work in the morning. It's a wonderful feeling to get up and love what you do. Quality control is of utmost importance with nuclear medicine. So tracers that we prepare for our patients will make or break their diagnoses, and the highest quality is necessary to get the best images for these patients. What I love about nuclear medicine is how it blends both science and people skills. So I get to work in a lab and use really fancy high-tech equipment, but I also get to work with patients and make a difference, hopefully, in their lives. And it's a great balance to have a blend of both worlds.
All right, everyone take a look at this heart model here.
So the BCIT nuclear medicine program is the only nuclear medicine training program in British Columbia. Our students are taught through a combination of in-class learning, simulated lab activities, and hands-on clinical practice. The biggest advantage of students working in the clinical setting is that they are allowed to take the knowledge that they gained and apply it to real-life practice and develop competency in the skills that they need to do the profession.
The instructors at BCIT, they know exactly what's expected of a graduate technologist, so I feel that they know exactly how to prepare us to be working in the field when we graduate.
Usually by the end of the test, I can take the most fearful patient and make them feel like they've had a really good time with us here in nuclear medicine. Sometimes you can really get to know patients and you feel like you're really making a difference in their lives. That's really rewarding.
Yeah, so you may have seen clips of that video. Actually, if you're watching following the Connects these days, I've seen a few clips of some of that video in the commercials during the game. So we're almost famous here at nuclear medicine. I will say that nuclear medicine is a pretty unique technology in that we use radioactive material and we tag it to a biological tracer. And it gets put into the patient, whether it's in their vein or they inhale it, and it gets taken up in a very biological cellular level. So we detect it using a special imaging device called a SPECT CT camera or a PET camera. And we're able to see quite a variety of structures in the human body, depending on what biological radiopharmaceutical that we give the patient. So there's lots of variability and versatility with the types of scans that we do. Okay. We can keep going. Yeah, so some fun facts about nuclear medicine that makes it a little bit more unique is that it's typically not a department that runs 24/7. So there's few scans that are in general considered emergency type scans. So the bonus of that is you're kind of working, you know, a Monday to Friday or maybe some Saturdays type of work week, which is a nice balance for your lifestyle. Additionally, there's both diagnostic, so diagnosis of diseases, as well as therapeutic types of procedures, so treatment of diseases, which is makes things interesting. We use all the sciences, so we use a lot of lab techniques, pipetting skills, test tube type things, and then we also do patient care, and we use technology with physics and our gamma cameras, so it's got a good variety there. We do have a lot of direct patient care, so you will have an effect on their outcome, which I think is something that you can kind of take home with you on a daily basis. Also, most of the clinics in Canada are in a hospital setting. There's a few private nuclear medicine and PET clinics. In BC, we're pretty much all public nuclear medicine, well, all public nuclear medicine, one private PET clinic. So you're working in a hospital setting to start. If you know, as you become a technologist for a while, there's other job opportunities, which I'm gonna get into after this. But yeah, it's a hospital setting, and there's so many different types of scans that we do. We do a few more often than others, but we definitely image a lot of organ systems. So brain, heart, liver, lung, thyroid, kidney, you know, bone, tons of different systems. So it does bring a lot of variety to your day, which is something I think people appreciate. So you don't have that monotony of doing the same thing all day. And lastly, especially with all the latest advancements in technology, we are a hybrid imaging technology. So we do combine two different types. So our students come out with some CT training as well. So that's, you might have heard CAT scan, things like that. So we do have a camera that has both the gamma camera portion, which is the nuclear medicine portion, as well as a CT scanner in it. So it's considered a hybrid imaging procedure. Yeah, so there's a few little details, fun facts. Okay, I think that's over to you, Thomas.
Thanks, Chrissy. So our program takes extreme pride in providing relevant hands-on training. So this is a picture of our current gamma camera that we have at BCIT. However, we will be moving into a brand new health sciences center, which will have a brand new state-of-the-art gamma camera in the fall term. So when we start in September, that's when we'll be moving into a brand new building with a brand new camera. Next slide, please. So going into the aspect of the program, I'll just kind of briefly describe the structure of our program. So our program runs as a continuous 24-month program with a diploma in the end. We accept 16 students into the program every year. And in terms of what the program looks like in both years. The first year, typically you spend 2 terms learning at BCIT. So that's when you learn a lot of the foundational knowledge, start applying some of that knowledge in the theory. And then in the first summer, so because it's continuous, that summer term, you spend 12 weeks full-time in clinical, where you get to learn a little bit about how you'd actually apply some of that knowledge into clinical practice. The second year of the program is a little bit different from the first one in the sense that we have a combination of both clinical and school. So we are a little unique that way in that you spend alternating 2-week rotations where you spend 2 weeks at BCIT and then 2 weeks out in clinical. And it's that kind of blend of being able to apply knowledge and learn new knowledge at the same time. And then you finish off the program with another full-time clinical in the summer for another 14 weeks. Next slide, please. So Going into the clinical is a big component of our program. That's where a lot of learning does happen. So in total, through the whole program, you will spend a total of 40 weeks in clinical. And these are typically full-time weeks. So you only have 35 hours per week. The clinical sites are located throughout the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island. There are some departments also in the interior, but the main sites primarily are in those areas. Each student will work at 4 different nuclear medicine departments, as well as spending time at BC Children's, at BC Cancer for PET, as well as in a dedicated CT department. Now, there is the option of also going to some of the additional sites, as I mentioned, in the interior, as well as in Northern Health. Yeah, that's something that we do offer as additional kind of weeks that you could spend in those sites. Now I will throw it back over to Christy to talk a little about the job opportunities that she mentioned a little earlier.
Sorry, forgot I was muted there. Yes, so job opportunities. So your career outlook, especially right now in healthcare, I mean, everybody's just can't wait till we graduate techs, and getting a job is super, super easy. And that's a really great perk for this program right now. Typically you start out with wages that range from $28 to $35 an hour. And graduates have, of course, some have left the province to work outside of BC, but for the most part, getting a job in the Lower Mainland, or like Thomas was mentioning, interior health is in desperate need of technologists right now, is fairly easy. As well, I'll say that usually students graduate and they get a job as a casual technologist. So that means that you can kind of set your own schedule. You can be available when you like, and you get additional pay for vacation as well as benefits on top of that. And then, you know, at some point you would be offered a more permanent job at a particular site. So that's kind of how it works. Yeah, so next slide, please. Yeah, so as far as other options besides the nuclear medicine technologist, or coming back to BCIT to teach in this program, like some of us have done here, there are lots of job opportunities. Big training in radiation safety always is a good avenue to go to. So you can become a radiation safety officer, radiochemist. If you've chemistry background is a real asset for that. There's working in PET departments, PET labs, so they develop a lot of their radiopharmaceuticals in there, and the cyclotron maintenance and that sort of thing. Educators like us, research is a big thing that's happening as well in our industry. Directors, so if you're interested in more of the leadership, health leadership role, there's definitely programs you can take at BCIT that will help that as well. Additionally, working for vendors, so you can, you know, some of our main vendors are Siemens and GE, and lots of our students and technologists have gone on to work for them, as well as clinical application specialists or software specialists. So there's lots of avenues for you to go outside of the direct patient care kind of avenue that you start at. And a lot of people, you know, that are still working as technologists have been there for, you know, their whole entire career, and they can't imagine anything else. That was one thing I noticed when I was a student and I went for the day in a nuclear medicine department, and I just found that the job satisfaction for technologists who had been working for years was so high, and that to me was really exciting because I want a job that I love. So yeah, so just to give you guys a real feel for what it's like to be a student here, I'm going to pass it over to our second year student, Leah Tinabury, and she is going to tell you a little bit about how it feels to be a student here, and you can feel free to ask her questions as well if anything comes to mind. So over to you, Leah.
Perfect, thanks, Christy. So yeah, my name is Leah. I'm currently a second year student in the nuclear medicine program. So I'm just going to first share with why I chose nuclear medicine as my future career. So when I graduated high school, I was wanting to go to veterinarian school. So I was actually at Douglas College working towards my science degree. And at the same time, I was working in a vet clinic and realized this wasn't the career for me. So during my physics class, one of my classmates was talking about nuclear medicine as a career for herself. And at that point, I was wanting something in healthcare, but not nursing or a doctor. So I'm like, ooh, nuclear medicine sounds pretty cool. I researched the program, reached out to an advisor, talked to someone at BCIT. I actually got to spend a day as a student. So I got to sit in on a couple classes. I met the program head at the time, and I realized it was actually the career I want to go forward with. So I love the aspect of working in a lab, but also alongside the patients and providing care for them was a perfect combination for me. Second question is, what do I love most about the program? About the program itself is, I love how close you become with all your classmates and the instructors. You're with your classmates a lot during the week, Monday to Friday, full time. So you get to be close with them and just they understand what you're going through. So it's very nice to have someone that you can relate to and rely on, and they help you get through it. All the instructors at BCIT are awesome. They are there for you no matter what. They all want you to do good, and they'll accommodate you no matter what. So that was awesome. About the career itself, like I said, I love working with the patients and being a part of their journey in the healthcare system. I love reading patient recs and correlating the information on the rec to the study that we are going to do on them. And then last question is, where do I see myself in the future, like 5 years from now professionally? I want to be working a lot, hopefully gaining more confidence and knowledge in the field. I plan to continue my education and becoming CT certified and help supplement nuke med in a way. Yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. And I hope to see you guys in the future.
Thank you so much, Leah. That was really informative. So thank you so much. And Thomas, I think you are starting our discussion on the nitty-gritty details of the admission process.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Chrissy, and thank you, Leah, for the that information. So now we'll be reviewing just a little bit about the entrance requirements and the admissions process, along with also we'll be sharing some information about some of the student services that BCIT offers. So let's start with some of the details of our admissions. Next slide. So with our program start date, we start every September. So this year we will start September 2022. The application window is currently open. So it opened on October 1st and it will close on April 30th. So again, on the slide, you can see that we are a continuous 24-month full-time diploma program with one intake each year. Next slide. So this slide really shows the process in a nice little schematic in terms of what you need to know in terms of applying. But the application process, it is online. It's fairly straightforward. So once the application window opens, which it is right now, you can log in and kind of review the application cycle. And how it works is that once you initiate, you can work on filling out your application at your own pace. And it doesn't actually go to the admissions office, like it doesn't actually get registered as being applied until you pay the application fee. So the date that you actually apply really doesn't impact your application in any way. So applying early, applying late, it all just kind of gets into the system for us to review. So as long as it's in before the April 30th deadline, that will be when to actually submit your application. Now, with respect to applying, there's a few things to be aware of. The first thing you should do is review the program's entrance requirements, as well as the process and the dates. Make sure you have all those in place. You should also consider whether or not you need any upgrading. So we'll show on a later slide the requirements that you need. So if you do need to upgrade, that's something to kind of consider and think about how you'd go about doing that. So BCIT does offer a variety of upgrading courses, and that's where I will point you to program advising and they can assist you with finding out the details of which courses that you should consider taking for upgrading. When you do apply, you need to ensure that you have all your documents in place. So that could be things like transcripts and all those necessary documents for our application, which we'll talk a little bit about later, have those all ready and ready to be uploaded. So they do need to be scanned as PDF files when you actually apply. And all this information is obviously on the website. And I guess another key thing is the application fee for applying for domestic students is $90 Canadian. Another important thing to recognize is that the application process is fully online. So there's really no component of submitting anything in person to BCIT. So all this whole process does happen through the website.
Thomas, sorry, if I could just put in a line there. Regarding the upgrading, we get a lot of questions about using post-secondary courses to cover entrance requirements for anyone that has gone and taken post-secondary level courses. And we do have some information on our website, but this is something that we can definitely help you with at Program Advising to determine whether your courses will cover the entrance requirements and what you need. So feel free to contact us or even ask your questions today, because I'm here to help with those. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ambreen. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about the entrance requirements. So if you look at the slide here, you'll notice that there are a lot of courses listed and a lot of things that we require. With respect to the proficiency in English, there are tests and course options for meeting this requirement. And again, this is something where I encourage you to contact Program Advising for their assistance. If you look at the other entrance requirements, our program is very science-based, and hence that's why we have a lot of prereqs that are based on the high school science courses. Now, in addition to these courses and the grade requirements on them, there's also two other key things that we require. One is the mandatory applicant questionnaire that you'll find on the website. And for this questionnaire, this is your opportunity to really highlight any sort of non-academic experiences that you have that to really help strengthen your application. So really showcasing why nuclear medicine program would be a good fit for yourself, and really highlighting any sort of skills and abilities that would be suited for this program. The other requirement is the Casper and Snapshot assessment. So the Casper and Snapshot is an online test and video-based for the Snapshot assessment. You can really think of this as kind of like a virtual interview. So Casper utilizes a variety of everyday scenarios, various types of moral dilemmas that are presented to the test taker, and there really isn't any sort of right or wrong answer to it, and you can't really study for this test. It's not knowledge based, and if you go to the Casper website, there is a practice test that you could do. So some practice questions you could take a look at in terms of what type of assessments they do. But in order to access the practice test, you do need to be registered with a Casper account ahead of time. There is a separate fee for the Casper and Snapshot tests that is separate from the BCIT application, and it is around $50 for the whole test and the results. Again, there's a lot of information with respect to Casper. If you visit our program website, you'll see a link there, and that does link directly to the Casper website, where you can find more information about the test dates, as well as more information about what to expect for Casper. So with respect to some of the preferred requirements that we look at, so you might wonder, well, what are some things that we look for? As I mentioned, it is very science-based, so a strong science background is recommended. All the entrance requirements, we do prefer that it's done within the past 5 years. And if it has been longer than 5 years, it typically is fine, but sometimes if it's a significant amount of time, upgrading is often recommended. Post-secondary education is an asset. So if you have a degree, or if you have a couple years or a few courses post-secondary under your belt, it makes you a suitable applicant. But again, if you're from high school, you're also welcome to apply, because that is entrance requirements related to that. Obviously, good GPA, good marks, and showing some good interest in the field. Those are things to kind of prepare for your application. And another key component sometimes we look at that really improves your application is any sort of volunteer or work experience. So as was mentioned earlier, we do work in lab settings. We also work with patients very closely. So anything that kind of supports and adds that skill set really would make you a very suitable applicant for the program. So now I will throw it back to Christy to talk about some of the required documents that you will need to submit with your application.
Great, thank you, Thomas. So yeah, for transcripts and documents, we've kind of mentioned already that it does need to be in a PDF form. So there's a couple options for transcripts. One is you can take a picture of your transcript and upload. Two is download your digital transcript from your school and upload. And we do not recommend mailing in your transcript. Now I just see, I think maybe Breen can shed light on this. I noticed that it says you can take a picture of your transcript and upload, but then it also specifies PDF. So do you accept JPEGs, Breen?
I believe that would be sort of up to the admissions office to decide. I think it's PDFs that we generally recommend at this stage because that's preferred and it keeps everything together. In terms of BCIT courses, if you were using anything you've previously done at BCIT, obviously it's not as much of an issue, but otherwise the PDF has to be of the official transcript.
Great,
So
thank you for
yeah.
Thanks for the clarification. So might just be a slight misunderstanding on that slide. So yes, PDF preferred, official transcripts, and you can upload them. And then BCIT, of course, BCIT students, if you already have courses through BCIT, then admissions can actually just access that directly. So that makes your life a little easier. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what is the process after you submit your application? So once you submit your application, admissions will check to see if it's complete. In other words, have you checked all the boxes? Have you done Casper, snapshot, questionnaire, transcripts, all this stuff? Have you uploaded everything? Then they will send complete applications to our department. So if you are awaiting preliminary results or you're currently taking a course, you can submit midterm marks. Just to let you know, you can submit midterm marks, but you may be considered incomplete until you are finished taking that course. So lastly, after the deadline is when we'll make our decision. So we'll wait till everyone's complete. We'll take a look at all the applicants and then we'll send our decision to admissions, and admissions will connect with the successful candidates with a letter. And that is when you'll be asked to pay a commitment fee, which is around $500, saying you're committed to joining our nuclear medicine program. Yeah. Okay. We mentioned earlier that there are lots of job opportunities other than being a nuclear medicine technologist, but additionally, there's lots of opportunities for laddering in future education. So there's options available at BCIT as well as other post-secondary educations. There is the magnetic resonance imaging, so MRI advanced certificate and Bachelor of Health Sciences through BCIT. There's also a health leadership advanced certificate through BCIT. And if you're interested in that, there are some colleagues of ours, Shannon and Victoria, who have a display for that. Hopefully it's still Shannon and Victoria this year, as well as Bachelor of Technology in Technology Management. If you're interested in laddering into another facility, there's the Bachelor of Health Science at Thompson Rivers. Yeah, so further to that, you can always reach out and we can help answer any questions about that. Okay, so I will throw it back to Erin here and talk a little bit about what sort of resources there are at BCIT to help facilitate your success through this busy program.
Sure, thanks, Christy. There's been a lot of information from both you and Thomas. So I hope everyone's kind of staying with us here. I just want to remind you that everyone who registered will get a copy of this slide deck and a link to the recording online. So if you didn't catch something, you will be able to get that afterwards. But for now, I want to talk about some of the supports available once you begin your studies at BCIT. We do want to help you make the most of your time with us. So the first one here on the slide is our Indigenous initiatives, and they offer peer-to-peer mentoring, a welcoming gathering place, and other resources for Indigenous students. Student financial aid and awards, they can help you figure out some solutions with funding your education. They have a number of different awards, bursaries, programs that you can access. One that I would urge you to check out is the President's Award. That's awarded to incoming students, not only based on academic achievement, but also on community involvement. And it's generally not a lot of people know about it. So now that you do know about it, it's something to check out. Accessibility services. If you have a permanent or temporary disability or an issue with access, you might want to contact them. They can help make accommodations in your program. So once you're accepted, if you have something that you'd like to talk to them about, you want to contact them as soon as possible after acceptance. Student health services. We have a full service health clinic here on the Burnaby campus, and it's a great resource. Students can access a doctor there year round. It's a lot easier sometimes to get an appointment on campus since you're already on campus than trying to contact your family doctor or a clinic near your home. So that's just been a great resource we all appreciate having here. Counseling and student development. We have a counselor on staff at BCIT. They have offices near student health services, and we just want to be able to support your emotional well-being while you're here as well. So they're a resource that's available to you. And finally, recreation services for your physical well-being. We have a full service gym on campus. When we have different intramurals, different fitness classes, you can go in there before classes, after classes, on your lunch break. It's just a great way to kind of take a break from the studies and do something else and move your body a bit to stay healthy. And then I just wanted to talk about program advising. So we've given you a lot of information tonight, and Christy and Thomas are excellent resources for information about the program and about the profession. But if you have questions about your transcripts, about whether a certain course you've taken can be applied to a prerequisite, if you aren't sure between two different programs and which would best suit you, program advising is who you want to connect with. And they have all their information on their website, bcit.ca/advising, on how to contact them. But there are three main methods of communication. Telephone advising is listed here, drop-in advising. They have in-person and Zoom on those times. And you can always email them, program_advising@bcit.ca. For the most up-to-date information on times when they're available, please do check their website. And we have a representative from Program Advising, Anne Breen, on the call tonight with us, and she'll be answering your questions in the chat. So with that, question and answer time. I haven't really been watching the questions too closely in the chat. I don't know if you guys have posted many in there. Let me see. Nope, doesn't look like there's much. But if anybody, I see Sammy has just posted something. Sammy, what can I do if I'm currently in a high school that uses a semester system, so I won't have my midterm mark until near the application deadline? That's a good question, Sammy. And Breen, did you want to answer that?
Yeah, so I mean, my take on that would be that to submit the midterm mark, if that is available before the deadline, to submit everything that you do have. So if you're able to submit the midterm mark, then do that. If you're a strong student, you have good grades in the entrance requirements as a high school student, that will obviously benefit your application. And follow up with the admissions office with your results, as soon as you have them. I would email admissions after you've uploaded those at a later time to let them know that you've added that to your file. And Christy, do you have any input on that one, just regarding how competitive recent application cycles have been and that sort of thing?
I would say if you're interested in our program and you have decent academics, you have a really good shot of getting in. I would also encourage you to kind of put forward as much of your application as possible. If you are hung up on a midterm mark, we can do a workaround with that. Like we wouldn't want that to hold you back, especially if you're a strong candidate, I guess is what I would say. Anything to add, Thomas?
Yeah, no, exactly that. Because oftentimes when we look at applications, we look at all the entrance requirements that you've completed up to that point, and it does show up, even though it's not a complete mark. There might not be a mark there, but it would show up that you are registered in that course and you're taking the course. And so even if there isn't maybe a midterm mark available, or if just whatever is available, that you can show that you are in that course, that would be something to kind of submit with your application.
Maybe I'll just address Brooke's question. So she said, if I have a slightly lower grade in one of the education requirements than all the others, does that damage my application? So we look at your application as a global kind of entity. And of course, we don't expect perfection for our students, right? We want passionate, excited, hardworking people who want to work with patients. So don't be discouraged if you've one mark that's lower. Of course, it is a competitive process, but I would say still apply and hope for the best. Yeah, we had a lot of applicants last year, but I would say that chances are really good this year. Application stats are a bit down, so your competition is a little bit lower, at least right now. So
we also have a question from Jake in the chat. Is there a certain amount of volunteer hours that you're looking for?
Thomas? You look like you're about to say something.
No, I was gonna say we don't have an exact number like to label in terms of a number. I would say that it's more of any volunteer experience that you have, you should definitely put down, and in that in the questionnaire that you would need to fill out, that's where you would highlight some of those things. And the other aspect of the volunteer experience would be just kind of what type of experiences you did at the volunteer experience, what type of skills were you applying in those. That's where you can really kind of highlight and illustrate those as part of your application.
I know that a lot of, sorry Thomas to interrupt, but I know a lot of applicants coming in have had some issues getting volunteer experience this year just because of COVID and the current climate, right? So, and certainly that's something that the program area will be considering as well, I'm sure, in reviewing the applications. Yeah, so.
Breen, I was just going to say that it's been really hard to get. I mean, how much volunteering can you do via Zoom, right? We've all been isolated. So, that's definitely, we're taking that into consideration. And Harleen, how many applications you usually get? It varies. Somewhere between 30 and 50, I would say, would probably be fairly accurate over the last 5 years. Historically, it was higher, but I think across Canada, technology programs are down for students. So
I think one thing that I know, Christy, you answered the question earlier about how many students we take in each year, and the answer is 16. But one really cool thing about the fact that we only take in 16 students is it's a really small class size. So you do get to know, and I see Leah nodding here, you do really get to know your classmates. They're going to be your future co-workers. You get to know your classmates, you get to know your instructors really well. They get to know you. It's not like you're ever sitting in a large lecture hall being kind of anonymous in a crowd. You're really you really know your group when you're at BCIT.
And from a learning experience perspective, this is really quite amazing. Our student to instructor ratio, it typically in second year is 1 or 2 instructors on 4 students, oftentimes with hands-on skills. So you really are getting close attention and lots of opportunities for learning and asking questions and working on your skills. And as far as COVID vaccine status, of course, these things are always changing. Right now, COVID vaccines, as long as they're going to be mandatory in hospitals, where you guys would be presumably doing your clinical practicums, that will be mandatory for our program. If that changes, then we would potentially update. So we would be based on a provincial health officer's orders.
And Breen just put a link about that information on our website for you.
Yeah, just one question there from Jake, looking to take physics at Douglas College. Are you familiar with physics 0309 pre-entry physics, or are you looking to have deeper understanding of physics? So the physics requirement is physics 11. So physics 0309 at BCIT will definitely meet that requirement. That's a great way to pick up that requirement if you're trying to do that BCIT. If you were to use any 3-credit course at Douglas College, that would work as well, any 3-credit physics course, but you would need the same required grade in that to cover off the requirement. And then if you're looking at a specific course number at Douglas College, you're welcome to contact me or my team of advisors, and we can take a look to see if it's been looked at before, just to confirm it. Yeah.
FYI, I just answered Jake's question directly.
Okay.
Yeah, contact us. Yeah, exactly. And as far as Casper and Snapshot, is it weighted fairly equally to the rest of the application? So, Thomas?
Yeah, in terms of the weighting of it, so if you meet the entrance requirements, in addition to the entrance requirements, we also look at kind of just the GPA. So obviously when you're looking at the strength of the mark, so if obviously the higher the mark, typically that kind of ranks a little bit higher. Similarly with Casper and Snapshot, those type of testing give you a score. So it gives you kind of, you can think of it as like a mark. And from that, it would be all factored in. So I would say in terms of equally between overall GPA, the experiences from volunteer experience, work experience, Snapshot, Casper, post-secondary,
yeah,
put all together. That's kind of how we kind of weight the applications looking at it. So even you know, that I think there was a question earlier about having maybe one mark that's a little bit lower. If you do really well on the Casper and the Snapshot, that also kind of improves your chances in terms of where you rank amongst all the applicants. So I don't know if that answers the question. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so we love Student for the Days. We love them. They're so fun, and we try to pick a fun day for you guys to come and see a day where the students are involved in some fun activities, and they have a variety of classes, and we always welcome students to come for a Student for the Day.
Yeah. But in terms of the how, I would say reach out to Chrissy or myself. So send us an email, and we'll try to find an opportune time for it. So during the pandemic, we weren't really able to do it, but now things are opening up. I'm pretty confident we'll be able to find an opportunity for that.
The official Spend a Day program is actually still on hold, FYI.
That's it.
That's why okay. I just told Jake to email you guys directly, because I was like, officially through our website, it's on hold.
My bad. So
we do
email us.
We're recording this, but yeah, we do work around sometimes.
we make sure it's done in a very safe way. So if any sort of PPE and stuff like that, but yeah, we'll have to work within the rules. So
Harleen has a great question. Harleen, please do reach out to any of our program advisors. If you email the general program advising email address, or give them a call or connect on one of their drop-in times, they can definitely help you out with that. There's all of our advisors are very well informed. I mean, Embreen might be our favorite because she's on this call right now, but we have other wonderful ones as well. Okay, and if there's no more questions,
now's your chance for your last questions. Get them in there. Ask
Leah. Leah, did you have any final words today?
Just wanted to stress that we do have some in-person services now, because obviously hasn't been possible for a long time. So we are doing in-person advising on Wednesday afternoons, and we also have the virtual, because everyone's set up for virtual now too. So we have a high demand for those as well. So we're doing virtual advising on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, and then we have our daily telephone advising service, and you could email us with specific questions as well, because we're able to write back in more detail via email as well. So.
Wonderful, thanks.
I think I would just add that just apply to the program. You never know what would happen. Nuclear medicine at BCIT is awesome. Like we said, the clinical is more over than 40 weeks, which is close to a year clinical experience, which helps you a lot and complements what you learned in school. So it's awesome, and you guys should definitely apply.
Thanks, Leah. One thing that I don't know, maybe some students would be more nervous about asking about is the radioactivity kind of component to our program. And yeah, I just wanted to just kind of address that in the sense that we are completely in a safe industry. Everything that we do follows very, very strict guidelines. And as nuclear medicine technologists, we become very, very aware of how radioactivity works and how to protect ourselves and how to protect our patients. So I think that sometimes knowledge is power with these types of things. So if that part makes you nervous, I would say that I think for the most part, well, we've never had a student actually leave once they've learned about how radioactivity works and learned about the safety procedures that surround it. So if that makes you nervous, we're also happy to answer questions about that, but I would assure you that you would learn enough to feel comfortable and confident in your work environment.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. And I think we're going to end it there. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to come and listen in on this info session and to meet with us and ask your questions. And I hope we're a helpful resource for you. And look for an email in your inbox, in your email address that you signed up for this session with, probably mid next week sometime, and you'll have a copy of this video and the slide deck. Thank you very much.